Speaking with reporters on Capitol Hill, the New York Democrat said the consequences of Trump's actions were deadly. It makes him angry. Schumer says he can't believe the president deceived the American people the way he did. Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden is ripping the president after he admitted that the coronavirus was deadly stuff in February.
It's also more deadly than your strenuous flus.
Details from Mark Mayfield.
He lied to the American people. He knowingly and willingly lied about the threat it posed to the country for months.
During a visit to Michigan, Biden said Trump's failure cost lives and put the economy in a tailspin. Trump told a journalist he wanted to play down the virus after he was briefed about it. Biden said Trump failed to do his job on purpose and called it beyond despicable.
Speaking at the White House, Trump said that he is a cheerleader for this country and that Woodward's book was another political hit job. But he did 18 interviews with Bob Woodward, and Bob Woodward recorded all of those interviews. Washington Governor Jay Inslee is calling attention to climate change as the state continues to battle several wildfires. More from Matt Mattinson.
He called it an extraordinary series of events that is the result of catastrophically dangerous climatic systems.
These are conditions that are exacerbated by the changing climate that we are suffering. And I do not believe that we should surrender these subdivisions or these houses to climate change exacerbated fires.
There are more than 90 major wildfires burning in 13 western states. They've destroyed more than 5,300 square miles. Michael Kastner, NBC News Radio.
ON Radio. ON Worldwide. Feel the spirit on ON Radio. Feel the spirit.
A financial silver lining to the coronavirus pandemic, WalletHub's new credit card debt study reveals U.S. consumers paid down $118 billion in credit card debt during the first half of the year, and that's an all-time record. The reduction driven by generous unemployment benefits and household austerity measures.
Good morning and welcome to Coffee Ann, the longest-running panel discussion show in American radio. To make a comment or ask a question to the panel, call 401-766-1240 or email coffee@woonsocket.radio.com. And now, let's join the Coffee Ann panel.
And a good morning to you for Coffee Ann on this Thursday morning. It's September 10th. 2020. My name is Joe Callahan. Thanks for joining us this morning. Joining me on the phone. Sorry, Dave, they can't hear you. You want to... Wait a minute. Try it again there, Dave.
I said you're entirely welcome for joining you.
Thank you. And Bob Lauder's on the phone. Good morning to you, Bob.
Good morning. Good to be with you.
Good to have you here. And we're going to be joined at 8:15 this morning by Steve Lima. Steve Lima is running for state rep in District 49. So we're going to find out how his campaign is going and what he plans to do if he gets elected. So, Bob, you can always get a good question ready to go for Steve, okay?
We'll try and do that.
Excellent.
I have a question for you, though.
Oh, all right. I always like when Bob throws a question my way. Shoot.
It's going to be a sports question.
Well, that's good. All right.
I saw that. I heard the Patriots are going to be playing pretty soon.
They start on Sunday.
Right. Where are they playing? Are they going to have fans in the stands?
They're playing at their normal place. They're going to be in Foxborough at Gillette Stadium. There will be no fans in the stands for the opening game and the game on the 27th. They have two home games. Yeah, they have two home games in September. Massachusetts has said there'll be no fans in the stands. They'll look at it later on. Maybe they'll squeeze some in October, November, and December. And then the state just came out and said, because I guess fans were planning on, we'll just go to the parking lot and we'll grill up the burgers and the dogs and we'll break out the drinks and we'll listen to the game on the radio. Maybe someone will bring a laptop and they'll stream it, whatever they feel like doing, and we'll watch it virtually. But the state has said, put a kibosh on that and said, no, you won't be doing that either. So that's what's up with the Patriots and their fans. Did I answer your question?
Is it going to be televised, or is it just going to be on radio?
Oh, no, it'll be televised.
Oh, good.
It'll be on TV and on the radio for all to participate in, watching it in one way or another, or listening to it. Okay?
Great. Good.
Does that answer all your questions?
That answers my question. Now I can plan my Sunday.
Okay, good. The game's at 1 o'clock, by the way. Now,
thank you.
We got a question for you. This came up yesterday on the Coffee and program, and we said we got to ask Bob because he's the lawyer.
Uh-oh.
And so it's just a little background, Bob. You know, we had the story last week, and I'm sure you heard about it. The 8 men in Providence that were arrested for the alleged sexual assault that took place back in December of that 16-year-old girl. This all sounding familiar?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. They arrested the 7 guys, and then they were looking for the 8th.
Correct.
Okay, and the 8th man turned himself in last Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the question to you, Bob, is, and because it came up, and you always see it on television programs and in movies, we want to know if it's really true. Because you see it in TV programs like CSI and things like that, where the cops go to the person's lawyer and they say, well, they make a public appeal. They said, if you turn yourself in, things go easier for you, as opposed to us coming to get you. Now, Bob, the question is that true? Or is that a made-up Hollywood thing?
I think that in some respects it's probably a Hollywood thing.
Okay.
I think that when an individual is actually arrested for a crime, excuse me, they will go to originally a bail hearing. And at the bail hearing, the judge will decide whether or not they're going to be incarcerated or if they're going to be released on a bail or a bond. And that determination is going to be based on several factors. One is going to probably be whether or not the person is likely to flee the jurisdiction of the court. The second is going to be what potential hazard that individual may pose should they be released into the public venue. And then the case would go to probably a conference between the attorney who represents the defendant and the prosecutor. And at that time, they will try and work out any type of deal where the parties are both satisfied with the results and bring it before a judge. And if the deal is not able to be made, then they will be going to a trial. But the part about going easier on you, first of all, that's a decision of the prosecutor. It's not a decision of the arresting police officers.
All right.
They can have a say and tell the prosecutor what they may think about the case, but that's not going to necessarily be binding on it. I imagine that the police is saying, well, we'll go easier on you, but I don't really know what they would mean by that.
Well, let's give you an example.
Especially in a case such as the one involving the alleged rape in Providence.
All right, let's use these as numbers. The DA, let's say, goes to the individual and says, okay, this is the deal. If we go to trial and you're found guilty, you're going to get 20 years in prison,
right?
More than likely. However, if you plead guilty right now, me as the DA, I'm willing to offer you 8 years in prison. All right, and on top of that, because you turned yourself in, all right, let's make it 5. Would the DA do that? Like you see on TV?
I think it would be up to the prosecuting attorney. Mm-hmm. It is possible the prosecuting attorney may say, okay, because you did turn yourself in and made a effort to try and bring the matter to a judicial resolution, I'm going to be more lenient in my request to the judge. It's going to be the judge who makes the final decision. The district attorney or the prosecuting attorney can certainly recommend 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
The judge thinks that is inappropriate. The judge
way too less, yeah.
It can be more or less if you work a deal, and if you don't work a deal, and according to what the judge thinks is going to be appropriate, then you end up going to trial.
Okay. A lot of times you see it on TV, and I just don't know if it's just Hollywood again. The judge will actually ask, has a deal been reached? And the DA will say, well, yes, it has. And they say, okay, let's see it, and we'll probably go with it.
Yes. Well, that's true. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of times in criminal cases, the discussions between the prosecuting attorney and the defense attorney would surround the idea of, can we work out a compromise that is satisfactory to both parties? We're not admitting right now on the record ahead of time that we're guilty, but let's see if we can work out a deal. And if we can work out a deal, then we would plead to the charges.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you see that do you watch the old episodes of Law and Order? I mean, that's basically the premise of every show.
And I see so little TV. It's like I'm living in the 1930s.
Okay.
I mean, it's I watch the news and I get angry at the news.
Oh, don't watch the news.
Then I have to calm down.
You should watch Law and Order. Don't watch the news.
Good. Good.
It's sad and depressing.
Well, if Jessica Fletcher's not up in Cabot Cove, I have no idea what's going on.
Not anymore. All right. The other question is then, Bob, is when the defendant is not just your average Joe. It's someone of prominence, someone with a lot of money. Sometimes you hear about their lawyer gets involved, and the lawyer actually goes to the police and says, "Okay, my client, whoever they are, wants to turn themselves in." Why is that allowed? And it's like the lawyer and the police, they're negotiating of when John Smith he'll turn himself in a week from Friday.
I suppose the concept would be that we'll try and do it with the least amount of publicity and with the least amount of potential danger to both the arresting officer and the alleged criminal. It may be something along those lines. It may be that my client is not in the country right now, or my client is in another jurisdiction right now, but will be coming back, and we will be showing up at the police station at 4 o'clock in the morning, as opposed to having you guys go out to the house and try and locate him and go through that particular prospect.
Okay. All right. On the same vein then, Bob, how come some...
you planning a criminal background occupation, by the way?
I'd rather not say.
Oh, okay.
I think I got to take the fifth on that one.
Good.
But let's take a look at Lori Loughlin once again.
Yes.
Found guilty in the college bribery scam, but she's out. She's out right now. And how come some, basically criminals now, they're allowed to dictate when they're going to go to prison? And the judge said, okay, you can report to prison between here and 2 months later, your choice. Why are they given a choice? If you're found guilty, why aren't you sent to prison immediately?
I would believe that probably in those cases, the judge is looking at several things. One is whether or not there's a likelihood of danger to the populace should the person be remain at free. And secondly, they may be trying to, since it's not a major crime in the sense of a capital offense,
right,
murder or something like that, excuse me, the judge may be willing to say, okay, in order to not jeopardize your livelihood, we'll allow you to have a few extra days out before you actually show up for incarceration. Maybe something along those lines.
So it kind of depends on the crime that's been committed?
I think it would be dependent on the crime that's been committed, as well as the likelihood of danger to the population should the person remain free until that time that they do report for incarceration. I don't think it's just Ms. Loughlin. I have a vague recollection that when Mayor Cianci was being sentenced to incarceration down in New Jersey, I think that he had a period of time in which to turn himself in and show up at the jail.
You do hear it a lot when it's these white collar crimes.
Yeah,
kind of
I
thing.
think so. Yeah.
All
yeah.
right. And because we were kicking it around, is like, well, back to Lori Loughlin, she has until it's around like December 1st to turn herself in. She's going to spend 2 months in prison, and she's still out and about right now. And I'm like, well, why would she wait until December 1st and spend Christmas in prison when she could go there right now, spend September and October in Christmas, be out by the beginning of November, and you still have got Thanksgiving and Christmas to look forward to being with your family?
Maybe she doesn't want to be with the family.
All right.
I'd rather be incarcerated than be with my mother-in-law. Yes, that's sort of thing.
Or her husband, who's also going to prison, and maybe doesn't want to be around her kids that she tried to help get into college. All right, that's good thinking. Maybe she does. Maybe she doesn't. So maybe she just wants to see what it's like.
Your secondary life of crime, though, man. I think you're doing a great job on radio.
Thank you.
I want to expand you into other areas.
I'm really not looking. Yeah, I'm not looking for a life of crime. Although it does make it look glamorous on TV and movies, but the bad guys always get caught.
Well, yeah, on TV they do.
Well,
yeah.
yes. For the most part, in real life, I mean, some people get away with it. Get away with stuff.
Unless they're working in Washington.
Yeah, well, maybe. You're right. And, even, you look at criminals in this area, and I've talked to police officers about this, and they all agree, criminals always think that they're smarter than the police. And the situation is, it's one criminal, usually it's just one person, maybe there's two, working against a plethora of police officers. So it's, you got 25 minds working against one or two. And usually the majority is going to win out, don't you think?
Unless you read Sherlock Holmes and believe in Moriarty, yeah, I think you're right.
Oh, that's true. All right, we're going to take a break here in the Coffee and program. Our guest has arrived, Bob, so we're going to bring Steve Lima in just a second here. More Coffee Ands coming up, and Steve Lima here on ON, AM, and FM. Who? Fashion on-site country auction. Trudell's Auction Gallery is back. Come on down and join us this coming Monday as the auction begins at 10 a.m. Previews this weekend. Trudell's Auction Gallery has not stopped packing the gallery for over 2 months, and it all has to go. The auction is open to the public, so everybody can come. Bring your folding chairs and your coolers because this auction will be loaded. Trudell's Auction Gallery will be running this auction completely outside in the parking lot starting at 10 a.m. They do ask that you please have your masks and practice proper social distancing protocols. Trudell's Auction Gallery in the Bellingham Marketplace on South Main Street in Bellingham.
Are you getting the best insurance coverage possible? Why not find out by calling the Eston & Richard Insurance Agency? They're affiliated with many of the best insurance companies in America, financially sound and competitive, so they'll get the best rates and coverage for your needs. They insure homes, automobiles, condos, apartment houses, and businesses, including restaurants and service stations. Call Eston & Richard at 766-4200 or stop in at 342 Park Avenue, Woonsocket. Eston & Richard.
The Coffee and Panel is enjoying coffee from Down East Coffee in Pawtucket. They're a 62-year-old family business that roasts all its coffee right here in Rhode Island. Founded originally as Excellent Coffee Company, they provide great coffee to food service establishments throughout New England.
ON Radio.
All right, Coffee In on ON, AM, and FM, 1240 AM, 99.5 FM. This is Joe Callahan. Bob Lauder is with us. Say hello, Bob.
Good morning.
All right. And we're being joined at the Coffee and Table. Dave Richards has joined us. Hi, Dave.
Hi there. How are you?
Good morning to you. And we're being joined by Steve Lima. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning.
Steve is running for state rep in District 49, correct?
Correct.
All right. So for people who's Steve Lima, and there might be some people that don't know.
Steve's been around for a long time.
There's still new people coming into the town all the time.
That's true. That's true. Okay.
Steve, just a little background on you, education, and what do you do for a living now?
Absolutely. So I was born and raised in Woonsocket, so I've been here my entire life. I own a telecommunications company called Futurecom, which I've had for 20 years now. I've been involved with the city for many years, almost 20 years, on and off with different boards. Mm-hmm. I've been on the school committee, I've been on the planning boards, redevelopment agencies, Main Street 2000, Woonsocket Taxpayer Coalition I was the president of. So I've definitely been involved with the city for a long time. I kind of look at it when the city needs me, I get involved. Last year, the mayor had called and asked if I'd be willing to be the acting director of planning, and I happily obliged. So, it's anytime I can look at something and help out. I've always loved the city, and I just want to, give it the ability to have the options of, people who can choose, So.
Okay. Now you're running for District 49, state rep. Did you?
That's Mike Moran's whole district.
That's right.
Because he's decided not to run.
Right. Did you make the decision to run before Mike decided not to, or after Mike said, I'm not going to run?
It was kind of interesting. When I was acting director of planning, I kind of talked to the mayor about it a little bit, and I said this would be a great opportunity for this position to also be at a state rep level, because you can really represent the city well and knowing what the city needs. So it was kind of a conversation, but never really like hardcore. Mm-hmm. But when Rep Moran decided that he didn't want to run, it was definitely then something that needed to happen.
Time to jump in.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you run for state office before?
I have not.
So, first time doing this.
Yeah, interesting, yes.
So,
how do you like it so far?
Yeah, how do you like it so far? How's the campaign going?
It's interesting. We have
COVID-19.
Yeah, not bad. I mean, it gets it's a little a little more difficult, especially in this situation. Obviously, I feel kind of hesitant to go knock on people's doors uninvited, in one of those things. So, and I'm one of those people where I really respect people's privacy and their time and everything like that. So it's a hard thing for me to start to develop a new personality of like, nope, I have to intrude on you to let you know who I am. And I know that's part of it. I know that's how it works. So, I was kind of just waiting until the primaries were over. We didn't have a primary, obviously. So. I figured now's the time we're going to start.
Now's the time to ramp it up, right? And get out and see people.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Can I suggest radio advertising, by the way? Because, if people invite you into their lives with that. So that's all I'm going to say.
It's a great idea, Dave. Great idea.
All right. You can always set up a table like the Girl Scouts in front of the...
well, you can. Yeah.
You can. And just meet people as they're walking by that way.
Sure.
What do you want to accomplish if you're elected down at the state level? Are there anything that's on top of the mind of like 3 items that you want to... This is what I would like to get done for the district.
Yeah, well, I think, after looking at, as the planner, directing planner, director of planning, it really kind of gave me an insight of some things that we could use some help with. And, the mayor's done a great job, but there's also issues where you struggle with trying to get things really addressed. I mean, we have issues, on River Street with a building that's falling down. We have the building on Main Street that just, it's horrible to look at that right across from City Hall. So there are bigger chunks of issues that are a little beyond the simple blight removal type of thing. So those kind of things, I certainly believe that, with the help of the state, you can get a little more done and that kind of stuff. So that's one of the big things. I also was on the school committee, so I understand that there's definitely a need to look at the whole funding formula for the school department. And the school department's done a great job, don't get me wrong. So it's just things like that as I was involved, I realized, wow, you know what? I think we could definitely do some good if someone was at the state level really pushing, which they were. I mean, Mike Morin was, absolutely pushing for the funding formula to be changed, and the other 2 state reps are. So, I just want to be part of that effort to help along. I don't think that I'm going to change. I can't change the world, obviously, as one person. But I just want to help to be the voice of reason and the voice behind pushing for the greater Woonsocket.
Now, you can see, of course, that he's not a practiced politician. Otherwise, he said, I'm going to change the world.
No. I'm a realist, Dave.
Well, that's kind of refreshing. We get a lot of the other kind,
You got anything on your mind yet, Bob? I don't want to leave you out.
When you talk about things like revamping the buildings or reacting on them, the old Hospital Trust building, what does the city really see as the best results on that building?
Well, it's really hard. We looked at a multitude of things with that building. The problem is the water has been damaging that building now for so long that, the conversation of tear down came into play. Now, no one wants to do that because of the historical value of it, especially the city or the Historical Society. So it's constantly trying to figure out a way to stop the bleeding. So if the city could have taken, ownership of that building years ago, at least we could have stopped the water damage. But I mean, if you go in that building and look across from the mayor's office, you can literally see the ceilings are collapsing in on each other. So it's a really hard thing. I mean, it would take a developer to look at and possibly, some type of either apartments or micro lofts or, something that we have to kind of use it for. It's definitely never going to be a commercial building again that we could see, minus the first floor, of course.
Is it still structurally sound?
It is. The cool part about that building, it was built as a steel frame. So if you looked at the skeleton of that building, if you took all the facade off of it,
we saw pictures when it was being built.
Exactly. It was, I don't want to call it the Empire State Building, but it has the same type structure-ish. It's got that steel, skeleton underneath all that facade.
Okay.
But it's just, the problem is
I think it was one of the tallest buildings in Woonsocket when it was finished.
Probably, yeah.
At the year that it was finished. We're talking back in the 20th century.
Yeah, even to this day, if you go on the roof and look out above the parapet wall, it's got a great view. It still has a cool view. So, it's just, those are the things that are really hard at a city level because, you have a private owner who owns it. And so, I got involved with learning some different techniques.
Yeah, well, they got some rights too, so you can't run roughshod over their rights.
Right. But you also have to understand that the greater good comes in the community. So us driving by as residents of the city every day, driving by this building that has now been not only deteriorated from weather, but is also spray painted. Yeah, it's like it's graffitied to the umpteenth degree. So those types of things.
Because it has that private entrance in the back, which was very good for it when it was operating.
Right. So, but so it's issues like that the owners have to take responsibility at some point. So.
Is there still an issue with homeless people using it mostly in the wintertime?
Yeah, the city's done a good job at keeping people out. So yeah, like every time we noticed there were boards missing, we would have to go replace them, and of course the owner gets back charged. So it's things like that. But it was in a constant communication with the owner. We understand he's in a financial situation.
What could the state do to help us with that, do you think?
Well, I think that if we look at things about blight money that could be designated towards certain areas, that helps. Stuff like that is certainly one of the Main Street's biggest challenges right now. Is we have incentives, we have the opportunity zones, we have things like that. But I think the state could probably do a little bit more when it comes to looking at how do we really use targeted areas and say this area absolutely is going to become a focal point for the city of Woonsocket for the greater good of the city of Woonsocket. The opportunity zones is a widespread thing, right? So everybody kind of has a piece of it, and it's not a targeted effort.
Okay.
So
as a rep, if you're elected rep, how do you get the state to recognize that Woonsocket exists, or Northern Rhode Island exists anyway, as opposed to just Providence, Cranston, Warwick, Newport?
Well, I think you have to be an active voice. You have to constantly be, and you have to work with leadership, and you have to work with the rest of the House, and you have to be one of those people that can kind of bridge gaps, right? And so I think I've always been pretty good at that. Even when I was working for the city, for the mayor, I always had a good relationship with either the city council or other departments, and making sure that everyone knew that I was here as a middle ground. I'll help get anybody to work forward, and that's the whole point. Is you have to be willing to say, how do we move forward with this?
Okay.
So I'm not afraid to get in and get dirty and talk to people, and I'm certainly not afraid to disagree with people when it comes to something that I believe is against what the city needs.
But civilly.
Absolutely.
Civil disagreement.
No, absolutely.
That's fine.
No, I don't think you ever get anywhere fighting with anyone, and I certainly don't. I'm not the type to get into a bashing contest.
Joe, send a clip of this down to Washington, won't you?
Sure thing. Now, what about now? You've been on different boards and school committees, so you've dealt with budgets before.
I have, yes.
How would you deal with it now, as the state is waiting for the feds, and how do you disperse money equally to the 39 cities and towns?
Yeah, well, again, I mean that's something I can't answer sitting here today. If I'm fortunate enough to be part of the finance committee, then I'll be able to get involved with that and have a better insight. But I could never sit here today at this exact moment and say this is what I would do, because it doesn't. It's not one person's choice. There's a huge committee involved, and that's, like I said, that's much bigger than just me.
Okay.
But I'm certainly, like I said, happy to get involved and have a voice and say this is what I believe is fair. Fairness, to me, always wins. I've always said to everyone who's ever worked for me, I'm the most fair person you'll ever work for, but I'm also...
Yeah, but will they say that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, it's because I'm also fair, but I always said I'm also stern when it comes to, listen, if you do what you're supposed to do, I'll always do what I'm supposed to do.
Okay.
But, and treat you fairly. I don't treat you different than I treat Dave. It would be like you guys are equal, but if you start to mess up, you'll know.
Oh, he's got a lot to learn if he thinks we're equal. Only kidding, Steve. But Steve, would you agree with this statement that you have to know what you want before you can get it?
Absolutely.
And I bring that up to expand on what you were saying about having a voice on how decisions are made in Providence with relation to what Woonsocket's needs are. You have to know what you want to have happen. Joe brought up the fact, but financial turmoil abounds, and so like maybe if money is going to solve a problem, there's not going to be any money for it. Yeah, but if you didn't know what you needed, if you didn't know what you wanted to have, you wouldn't be able to work toward it.
Right.
Now, if you can't get it this year, you can't get it this year, but you still have it firmly in your sight. So the goal is the big thing, right?
Oh, absolutely. Again, I hate to keep reverting back to when I was the acting director of planning, but honestly, I really saw so much. It was a huge eye-opening, and I loved the job, to be honest with you. And so what was great was I got to realize exactly how this all works. At the time, we would sit down and we would talk about projects and how we get there. And, of course, they're expensive projects, Oh, yeah. But you can see, like, you work with DOT and you get money put in the tip money, for the city. And then you have grants that you can use. And there's all these ways that you can go about. You just have to get creative. You really have to start to look and, like you said, have an end goal and say, what is our goal? And that's what we're shooting for.
And didn't we include blight remediation in our comprehensive plan?
Yeah, so Blight's
Because at
always...
first it wasn't in there.
Right. Blight's
And then
always
it
been
was
there.
introduced again in the last, time flies fast. Last 10 years or so, they put blight remediation in the comprehensive plan.
Right.
That gives you teeth when you're making plans with the state, because
yeah,
the state wants you to have a comprehensive plan, and they will look at your comprehensive plan and say, hey, well, if it's in the comprehensive plan, then there's legs on this thing, and we're going to help you with it.
Yep.
But if it's just something you want, maybe they won't.
True. That is absolutely true.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely great that it's in there.
So we're going about it the right way.
Absolutely.
Now we just got to get the other side to start recognizing what our priorities are.
Exactly. On the big stuff, like I said, there's been a great effort put forward in taking down a lot of blight throughout the city, a lot of it, and that's huge. And now, like I said,
And I'm sure some people will say, "Well, the house over there wasn't much blight," and you say, "Yeah, but do what you can today toward the big picture, right?"
Right. Oh yeah, no, we've had houses that just think about a neighborhood that has an abandoned house in the middle of it, and it's just now it becomes a like you said, a homeless haven.
Rats.
It becomes all kinds of things.
Dangerous for kids.
And when you take that house down, it makes a huge difference for the neighborhood, just for those even
Hamlet Avenue. Nobody even saw how bad that place was,
right?
Because there's a lot of trees around it and stuff like that.
Yep.
But very nice neighborhood.
Right. So it's a lot of that. I mean, we've had all over the city. So
when you talk, go ahead, Bob.
You'd mentioned earlier, Steve, about the school system. What do you think the state can realistically do to help us with the school funding?
Well, I think that we just have to take a good look at the funding formula and start to figure out if it makes sense and what needs to be modified. So it's a really intricate formula. When I was on the school committee, I couldn't believe what goes into that. And so it's one of those things where, again, we'll take a look at how can the state help if they can help. And, obviously other communities feel like, hey, we're already being helped too much. So that takes a lot of...
Well, it depends on what your burden is. If our community has a higher burden of very expensive costs for learning because of the populations that reside here, then you would expect the state to be able to assist us more than a community that does not have those populations.
Right.
And they
True,
don't
but
have
if
the expenses
if you
of it.
expect a community that's receiving money to suddenly say, we're receiving too much and we'd like to give it back, I would imagine that town council would have a keeper to make sure they didn't get out into public too often.
Very true, Bob. Okay, well, the 15 minutes goes by very quick, Steve, so we're coming to the end here. But
Final
we wanted to
comments.
give you a minute or so, 30 seconds to a minute, to say why should people vote for you coming up on Election Day?
Well, I think, honestly, I've been involved with the city for my whole life, and I love this city, and I'll do nothing more than to represent the residents of District 49 in the entire city as best I possibly can and give them a voice at the State House.
All right, Steve Lima, running for State Rep District 49. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, more Coffee M's coming up. Stay tuned. Sourdough pizza tasting class is coming to the Honey Shop. They will start class with a sourdough pizza tasting, and then you'll make your own sourdough. Everyone will get dough to proof and bake at home. The Honey Shop's secret recipe will be shared, and each person will get their own jar of sourdough starter. The starter will make fresh bread until eternity if given good care. Care instructions provided in class. This is a sugar-free, no preservative, easily digestible, and all-natural bread. This sourdough pizza tasting class is at the Honey Shop, 1300 Park Avenue, Woonsocket, on Sunday, September 13th at 11 a.m. Go to the Honey Shop's Facebook page for ticket information. If you love food, you'll love the Honey Shop. Time for a look at the forecast, being sponsored by Staples Stores. Today will be cloudy, and there is a chance of showers a little bit before 11, then more chance of showers coming up this afternoon as well. Some of the storms this afternoon could produce heavy rain and some wind as well. It'll be cloudy with a high near 78. Tonight, cloudy skies, chance of showers this evening as well, and a low temperature around 62. Friday's weather, mostly cloudy in the morning, gradually becoming sunny in the afternoon, high near 70. Friday night, mostly clear, low around 52. Saturday, sunny, high 71. Sunday, mostly cloudy, high near 75. And currently outside the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio on the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street, where we have 73 degrees. School goes on. Staples has everything to start the year right, no matter where school happens, and all at amazing prices. School on, save on at Staples.
There's a new feature at valleybreeze.com that will make it easier to find the business or deal you're looking for, as well as share their ads with family and friends. Head to valleybreeze.com. At the right, find This Week's Ads. Click it and you'll see all the ads that were in the Breeze's 5 newspapers. Maybe you've finished with your paper or are recalling an ad you noticed a few days ago. Just use the search function and the ad is right there, ready to be printed or shared. Merchants, share your ads on social media. The Valley Breeze. Our mission is your success.
Hi, I'm Greg Bell, the host of When Radio Was.
Why, Mortimer! Bill, is that you under that blindfold?
Bill, with this thing on, I can't see who I am.
No, I imagine not. Can't you see anything at all under that blindfold?
On a clear day, I can see the blindfold.
You can?
Yeah.
When Radio Was, shows from the past for today's imaginations.
When Radio Was airs Monday through Friday, right here on ON 1240 Radio at 11 a.m. and 11 p.m.
This segment of the Coffee and program is sponsored by attorney Bob Lauder. So, Bob, time for our first message, please.
Good morning. Thank you. I'd like to talk to you this morning about collection agencies and the tactics that are presently being used against debtors.
Ugh.
During the last several weeks, I've received calls from clients who've been the target of collection agencies. Frequently, the contact begins with a call from the agent and accelerates to threats from the agent that unless the debtor makes an immediate payment on a portion of the alleged debt, usually through a Western Union MoneyGram, or automatic withdrawal from the debtor's checking account, the agent will place an attachment upon the debtor's wages and/or will issue a warrant for the debtor's arrest. Please understand that some of these representations are false. Unless litigation has been brought against the debtor in court, debt collection agencies do not have the right to attach wages of any individual living or working in Rhode Island. Furthermore, a debt collection agency does not have the power to issue warrants for the arrest of an alleged debtor. Before you make any agreement to pay a portion or all of an alleged debt, before you send any MoneyGram to any collection agency, before you provide anyone with your accounting bank number, please contact an attorney. An attorney will be able to review the claims of the agent. The attorney will be able to tell you what your rights are and what the agent has the opportunity to collect, and what defenses and rights you have to avoid fulfilling the demands of the collection agent. If you'd like to discuss this or other legal matters with me, please call my office for a telephone appointment. My name is Bob Lauder. My telephone number is 762-4550. And the disclaimer: the Supreme Court of Rhode Island licenses all attorneys in the general practice of law. The court does not license or certify any attorney as an expert or specialist in any field of practice. Thank you.
All right, Bob, thank you. We have a note that's been written in, and you can write one in as well, to coffee@wonsocketradio.com. And I'm going to let you answer this, Dave, and try to keep it within 5 minutes, okay?
Whoa.
It may be long-winded. That's what I'm... I mean, the explanation, when I give you the question, maybe it could go on for a while. But try to keep it as short as possible.
I know,
okay?
I tend to be complete in my explanations.
Here we go.
Go ahead.
The caller writes in and says, why are we not getting Woonsocket election results on radio or the call? Well, we really can't speak for the call. But do you want to...
We have to have an election first.
Answer that? Well, I think they're talking about the primary that we just had.
There was no. Well, I can speak to this radio station's decision not to do any live coverage of the election on Tuesday this past night, because it really would have only been North Smithfield. And it's like this, folks. As much as, I voted on Tuesday. There were people that I could vote for that I felt deserved my support. I went and I voted. The fabulous Denise went along with me. We go together. There were people that went and voted, and that's all good. And I was curious of what's going on. But this is 2020, friends. The State Board of Elections has a website. Everybody goes to it. You're looking at how many people want to hear this. And when you get below a certain number of people who want to listen, you make a decision of whether or not you can support it with advertising, if you have to hire additional help, or pay for the broadcast time and things like that. And this one didn't pass muster. And I'll tell you, quite frankly, usually primary votes don't pass muster. There's just not enough people in an available audience to put a program together for it. It's just like, Joe, would you like to hear a program on five-legged baseball players?
No.
But we have a really great program, and it's a tremendously interesting subject. But would you listen?
I don't know. Probably not.
Yeah. So then could we put it on the air? Could we get funding to put it on the air? You know, and everybody said, well, it's all about money. Well, you can be critical about whether it's all about money or not. This is your right. If that's your opinion, you have a right to your opinion. But when you're the guy that has to pay for the electric company and they don't take a thank you, you have to pay the property taxes and they don't take a thank you. Or say, oh, well, ON does a lot of nice things and they play a lot of nice programs. We'll give them a break on their property tax. No, that doesn't happen either. When the federal government has the FCC come after us for thousands and thousands of dollars just as a tax because we need to support the FCC, so then the feds didn't want to do it, so they said, well, make all the radio stations pay it. You know, when you have all of that stuff going on that you have to pay cash money for, yeah, it matters.
Well, I just wonder if the writer is wondering, well, how come we didn't cover the Central Falls mayor or the Cranston mayor race?
Is that what you mean? They think they mean?
Well, I'm not sure. You know, because those were the election results.
Those were on the same time. 5 o'clock Wednesday morning, we had all the North Smithfield, the Woonsocket and Cumberland, and all of this Central Falls and all the rest of it. We hit all of them
Okay.
in the same 10-minute newscast. 5 o'clock the next morning, when people are up and they're curious and they want to hear, and we have a critical mass of audience who wants to know.
Okay.
You know, for the small groups of people, there's the internet. For the masses, there's the radio.
Okay.
People got to understand that.
I know. Okay. Moving on. All right, Bob. The Woonsocket School Committee met last night. Dr. McGee presented his plan for the opening of school. The school committee voted 5-0 to accept what Dr. McGee offered, and it looks like they're going to have a distance learning to start, at least to start.
Yeah, they have
on
to.
September 14th, and they have to, and we'll make another decision around September 25th, or in that general area. Do we start phasing in more kids coming in? Although it looks like if you're in kindergarten, you're going to school.
Right.
Okay.
And
pre-K.
Yeah, because learning at home for them doesn't cut it. You don't get anywhere with kids of that age. You have to put them in an environment where they can't.
This is education.
Right. You have
Home
to
is
teach
fun.
them this is school.
Yes.
And this is. And they
This
don't
is one.
have the TV and all the other
Or the
stuff,
internet.
and their mom's cell phone to
that's
play
right.
with.
That's right.
And no, this is school. See, if you don't teach them that in the first couple of years, you're
You
in
lose
Dutch.
them. Yeah.
And it has to do with the way they learn and their learning level. So, yeah. But also, those are much smaller groups of people. And if the other groups of people aren't around, you can manage those little small groups of people even better.
Okay. So there's different phases, and phase 2 will begin on September 29th, and then more students will start coming back in, unless something changes, of course. And this will all be outlined, especially if you have a student in the school system already. You'll be getting all this communication from the school department of what you need to do for your students.
Superintendent says everybody gets the message today.
Yeah.
I imagine they're using a hybrid of electronic messaging and postal where necessary. But all of that's being dispersed to the parents today. The very first opportunity they have to do it after the school committee accepted and made official what the superintendent's plan is.
Right. And I was worried about that last night. I said, what if they don't like Dr. McGee's plan?
Yeah, well,
what if it didn't
tough
pass?
nuggies. There's a lot of things in the world we don't like.
Well, I know, but if it didn't pass, then what?
You're saying the school committee?
Yes.
When you say they, okay, yeah.
It's like, uh-oh.
Well, then I can't imagine, and I don't know this for a fact, that a man of Dr. McGee's intellect and ability would not have Plan B or Plan C ready.
Wrong. Okay.
And that he would have brought enough to the meeting so that the school committee, if they had severe concerns with any part of the plan, couldn't have amended the plan and then approved it.
Okay.
I mean,
How long do they
you never saw a superintendent work as hard as Dr. McGee.
What's that, Bob?
How long do they anticipate the school year is going to last if they start only on the 14th of September?
In Rhode Island,
Yeah,
it's 177 days.
I think
this
June
year.
24th was the date that was postulated earlier in the and the proceedings. Yeah, they know it's not going to be the first week of June they're getting out. They know this already.
Mm-hmm.
The calendar is going to go to the third week of June.
And they've already
and they're cutting 10 days, and they're cutting 10 days from the schedule.
Yeah, and that's just it.
Right.
So you're pretty glad you don't have a student in the school system, Bob?
I'm glad I don't, because I don't know how I would be making decisions on things like this.
It's difficult.
But if this was 10 years ago and I was dealing with my daughter going to college, I'm not sure where my emotions would be on that issue.
Mm.
It's
a toughie.
Every college is different. I've got 2 nephews. They go to 2 separate colleges. One's at his home taking virtual classes. The other one's at campus.
Yeah.
All depends on the school and what they think they can handle.
And AJ's graduated. He's out, right?
He's out.
Next is Jocelyn, but in 4 years, right?
It's a while before she goes off to college. So hopefully it'll all have straightened itself out by then.
Well, we expected it will, sure.
Although she's already looking at schools. How about that?
Why not?
Ninth grade.
It's a nice exercise.
Yeah.
You can never plan too much.
Mm-hmm.
Unless, of course, the planning stops you from acting when it's time to act.
Yep.
But planning, my goodness. Just hanging around with me, my brain's always working. I mean, how many times have I told you, I'd like to do this, I'd like to do that, here's a goal, and let's see if we can get this in the pipeline and stuff. Always trying to figure something out. And this year, we've made a lot of changes here. We made a lot of changes last year, preparing for this year. But there'll be even more changes next year, Bob.
So she hasn't decided what...
You can hide the secret information to the outside.
Yeah. Well, it's like what I said when Steve Lima was here, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
If you expect to get what you want, you have to know what you want first.
Mm-hmm.
First, you have to know what you want.
Absolutely. And my daughter has been kind of steadfast in the last couple of years of what she wants to do.
Yeah.
We can't talk her out of it.
My daughter wanted to be a writer.
Okay.
And when she got into school, she didn't like this school. She didn't like that school. She bounced around. Finally, she found one she liked, and she went in, and she became a music instructor.
Okay. You never know where things are going to go.
You really do never know.
Well, we saw the story yesterday, and the governor is really pushing for the flu shot for everybody.
Yeah, that's too bad.
And now she says...
Because you know something? My doctor says, don't take
bother.
it right away. Wait for it, and then take your flu shot. He says, take your flu shot. Absolutely.
Okay.
But do you want to take it in August and September?
It's kind of,
His advice would be wait a little bit, make sure that everything is equalized, that they know what strain's coming, that they've tested it out on others. Anyway, my doctor has advised me not to take it right away. My governor says otherwise.
Well,
which one has the medical degree?
They're pushing it at the pharmacies.
Of course they are. They make money on it.
Right
Come
now.
on.
I don't
They've
know.
been doing.
They are.
They've
making
been
money
pushing
on
it.
It's funny. They'll say it's a free flu shot.
Yeah,
but
right.
what's your insurance company?
Oh, that's right. It's a free flu shot, like free shipping.
What's that, Bob?
I think there's different pieces of recommendation on this. My doctor, I was doing the telephone conference with him about 2 weeks ago, because rather than come into the office, they're doing them that way, had suggested that I should be taking the flu shot, and he suggested by the middle of September.
I'm not hearing what he said. Bob's voice keeps going up and down. He's loud, he's soft. I didn't get the last part.
Bob's doctor says Bob should get the flu shot in mid-September.
Oh, well, then
that's... Not wait as long as your doctor says.
That's different medical advice.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So, but no,
Bob,
does your doctor call you up and say, okay, it's time for your flu shot?
No, this took place because it was for my my semi-annual checkup, and they were doing a lot of it over the telephone instead of having you go into the office, and he was reviewing the various medications and things like that.
Yeah, right.
In the course of it, he said, I suggest that you have your flu shot by the middle of September. So, okay.
Well, that's interesting. Maybe I'll just call my doctor and see if he has different advice this year.
Is it different this year?
There was something, too, and I don't want to misquote him, there's something, too, about the fact that if you get the flu shot too early and your immunity from that flu shot wears off in February, where are you? Sick in February.
Well, I'm a little concerned with what the governor says, and she's quoted, and I saw it yesterday, and it's in the article in today's call. The governor's quoted as saying, "We're going to come into communities like we've never have before. You will have no excuse not to get a flu shot this year. We will be in your community. If you can't afford it, it will be free. If you don't have health insurance, it will be free. We're going to make it easier than ever." She's decided everyone needs to get one.
Okay.
And like
Well,
you
she's
said,
saying
what's your medical degree, Governor?
She is saying we're going to try and encourage you to take it, but she's not saying we're going to force you to take
Well, she doesn't say force, but she really doesn't say encourage.
She
either.
says you'll have no excuse
not to get
to
one.
not get one
Yeah.
because it will be so available.
Correct.
Yeah, but there's always going to be people who, for various reasons, either
Don't want it.
religious or political.
Well, that'd be a
or-
matter of personal conviction. You're right. There's always going to be a percentage of that one.
But you're going to see it, according to the governor, you're going to see it everywhere. They want to partner with schools, health equity zones,
Right.
community organizations, nursing homes, cities and towns, and grocery stores.
How about the DMV?
That'd be a great place, while you're hanging around
Give you,
doing nothing.
Give you something to do while they're waiting
While
for,
you're waiting.
for number 898 to come up.
That's a great idea. It's not in there. They should go to the DMV.
Hey, your governor, Your Excellency, try the DMV. Get them on board with something here.
Now, not that I want to prescribe being devious, but when you go to these places, hey, have you had your flu shot? Yes. Therefore, you don't need.
Oh, you're saying just tell them yes to blow them off?
I already got mine. Thank you.
Well, I don't
They
think,
won't
I
give
don't
you
think
two.
the governor should be chastised for trying to make it available and
No, not
increase people's
chastised. Yeah.
participation.
The fact is, as though the problem is when you're at her level of government and we hope leadership, that sometimes, just like in life, complete honesty doesn't always work for you. And so we know this, and we know she knows this, and you wonder what the real story behind the story is, and that sort of thing. It's just like the federal government. I heard Dr. Fauci the other day on the air in a news clip saying, folks, you got to understand, you have to believe us. You have to trust us. We know what's going on. And the thought that went on in my mind right then was that if you're all going to act like clowns and treat news as entertainment, when will anybody believe you when you're serious?
Good point.
I think that's one of the issues that Bob Woodward's book is going to
So
be bringing
you've
up
done
very
it to
heavily.
yourselves, folks.
Yeah.
Washington, you've done it to President, you've done it to yourself. Oh, well, geez, I don't want to cause a panic. Well, nobody does. And I can picture in my mind scenarios where you're given some really rotten news and you say to yourself, oh, geez, people ought to know about this. But if I go right on the air and start and ask for time and tell everybody what I just heard, there'll be panic in the streets. We'll never be able to control the government. More damage will be caused by that than by the pandemic. So we got to be cool. I'm sure he's got advisors there saying, take it easy, even-tempered, collect more information, let it come out slowly, that sort of. I can picture all that. But then to deny it, and I don't know. It's all in the way that he says things. It's for entertainment value. He really doesn't care how he comes across. That I wish that he would be able to moderate. I always did. I wanted him to moderate it the first 5 days he was in office. But it's been, 500 now, and he still hasn't moderated it.
We got to get a second message, Bob, from your law office, and then take our final break.
Nice and loud, Bob. I want to hear this one.
So go right ahead.
In the past, I've discussed with you some of the obligations that lead hazard disclosures impose upon landlords who are renting pre-1978 apartments. Now, there's a lot of pre-1978 construction in this area. As you can imagine, landlords and tenants are not the only people who come into contact with lead paint. The danger of lead exposure increases significantly when the paint surface is disturbed, such as during renovating or redecorating. In answer to the demands of the state legislature that all Rhode Islanders be protected from the hazards of lead exposure, the Department of Health has created regulations which specifically limit the amount of paint removal which an individual can take in performing on their own. The regulations require that all rental apartment units and all private homes with children under the age of 6 years old, paint removal, which encompasses an area of 15 square feet or more in each dwelling, or 3 square feet or more in any any common area, such as a hallway in an apartment building, may not be performed by any individual, even the owner, unless the individual has been trained in lead-safe work practices and has been subsequently licensed by the State Department of Health, either as a lead hazard reduction contractor or as a lead safety remodeler and remover. When one considers just the square footage of trim, woodwork, which may surround a doorway, it's clear that 15 square feet is a very small area, and these regulations can affect most homeowners in Rhode Island. If you'd like to discuss this or other legal matters with me, please call my office for a telephone conference. My name is Bob Lauder. My telephone number is 762-4550. And the disclaimer, the Supreme Court of Rhode Island licenses all attorneys in the general practice of law. The court does not license and certify any attorney as an expert or specialist in any field of practice. Thank you.
Very good, Bob. And more of the Coffee and program is coming your way. Please stay tuned.
I'm here with Kara Benjamin of the Benjamin Insurance Agency. Kara, what's the best part of your job?
The best part of my job is providing security to families and help protect what's important to them. My specialty is picking apart policy details so customers understand their coverages and options. It can be very overwhelming, and I am here to help with that.
You're in good hands with Allstate and Kara and Celeste Benjamin of the Benjamin Insurance Agency, 125 Eddie Dowling Highway, across from Dowling Village in North Smithfield, 765-5000.
Our business is truly a referral business, and we have built it based on our premier service level and commitment to what we do. If you are looking for personalized service with people who care, that would be us.
Dr. Jeffrey Dodge believes in providing the finest dental care for each person because every patient is unique. Good care begins with regular checkups because they're important for assuring that your teeth and supporting structures are sound and healthy, often contributing to your overall good health. Medications, illness, and diet can also affect your teeth, gums, and mouth area. Dr. Dodge also features an in-house laboratory for repair and fabrication of teeth and structures, where each step in the process is directly under the doctor's control. Dr. Dodge, 1438 Park Avenue, Woonsocket, at Park Square, 762-3044.
As you know, to protect you and your family from possible COVID-19 infection, the organizers of Woonsocket's Autumn Fest have canceled this year's celebration. But you can still support Autumn Fest and possibly win some great prizes when you buy a 2020 Autumn Fest button. Yes, the 2020 Autumn Fest buttons were already manufactured when Autumn Fest was canceled. So, the button contest is on. The price of the numbered buttons is the same, just $1, and they're available at the offices of ON Radio, 985 Park Avenue, Woonsocket, at any little general store, or at an increasingly long list of local businesses which you can see on the web at autumnfest.org, where, if you wish, you may even buy your Autumn Fest buttons online. This year, the grand prize is $500 in cash donated by Bouchard Broadcasting. The first prize is $250 in cash donated by Little General Convenience Stores. The second prize is $100 in cash donated by The Honey Shop. Join in on the fun. Be sure to get your 2020 Autumn Fest button today.
It is Coffee and here on ON Radio. This is Joe Callahan here with Dave Richards, and Bob Lauder is with us as well. All right, the exciting story of the day was, Dave, not the schools, and not that the Patriots won't allow tailgating, is that Yahtzee is a finalist to get into the Toy Hall of Fame.
Yahtzee! You got to say it that way. You can't.
I know.
You got to say it with vigor.
Do you know this toy, Bob?
No, I thought Yahtzee was a board game that people played.
Well, it is.
Usually
it
with
is.
dice.
It is.
Something.
Board game with dice.
With dice, you put it in a little barrel.
Yeah.
You shake it around, and I haven't played
I guess
it
it's
in
a
years,
broader
so.
general term, toy.
Yeah.
Because it's something you play with in leisure time.
It's a game, so therefore it's a toy.
Right.
But I think it's cool that it's on the list to get into the Toy Hall of Fame. I think it should make it. Although I haven't played it in so long, I can't even remember how to play it.
Oh yeah.
It's been that long. I know you put the dice, like 5 die, in the barrel, shake it up, throw it out, and then you do something and you mark off a piece of paper. I remember that part. And then and I forget why you yelled Yahtzee. Because you do yell it out.
That's right.
To win the game.
Right.
And I have forgotten what you have to do that, have that happen.
Well, the idea of yelling Yahtzee is very much like saying gin when you're playing that game.
That's right.
Bob?
What's the criteria for the Hall of Fame, and Who's in charge of this? Who makes these decisions?
There is a Toy Hall of Fame. It's in Rochester, New York. It is the National Toy Hall of Fame. And it's kind of like the baseball and the football, and every year they have a new group of toys that get nominated to get into the Toy Hall of Fame. Now, what's the criteria to get in? I read it years ago. It's probably like the sports. It's got to be around for a little while. Not terribly popular. Still sells. That's got to be at least 3 of the criteria.
And is part of the culture.
If you go to
did anybody ever see the pay cable show Airplane Repo? That one of the guys, Ken Cage, every time he finds the thing he's got to repossess for the bank, he yells Yahtzee.
Does he?
Yeah.
I'm surprised that's not a trademarked yell. Hasbro probably has trademarked it.
Yeah, it could be, but I don't think that's a Hasbro toy. They bought that afterwards. They are the owner of Yahtzee now. I think it was developed by others. Was that a Milton Bradley game or something?
Or Parker Brothers?
Could have been. That was another big one at the time.
But it does, right in the story, it says a Hasbro toy, so they own the rights.
Well,
to it
yeah,
now.
of course they do. Yeah.
And if you go to any place that sells toys, and look for it on the shelf, it's going to be there. It's almost like Uno. You can always buy a pack of Uno cards somewhere.
Right.
That's probably in the Toy Hall of Fame too.
Wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised.
Right up there with the Rubik's Cube.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of a chalk circle on the ground with marbles, but I guess that sort of dates me.
That's already in there, Bob.
Oh, it's in there. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. That is a pretty disturbing. I don't want to bring up the disturbing story.
Don't bring up the disturbing story. There's only a minute left. So, Bob, how's everything going with you these days? Read any good books lately?
You're spending all that time at home.
People don't know this, but Bob is a very well-read man, and he has thousands and thousands of books in his collection. I just was wondering.
Much to the distress of my wife. Yes.
Yeah.
Smuggling them into the house is becoming more and more difficult, and you have to be creative on your various disguises.
Yeah, I think that's the best doggone hobby, a relaxation thing that you can have, because you have to understand something. Whenever you can have a hobby that would be useful when times are hard, you've got a good hobby. Some people like collect marbles or something, or chewing gum, or balls of string. I mean, what's that going to do for you if the times are hard? Nobody's going to buy them off you, and it's not going to be worth anything. But books can always go in the fireplace if things get tough.
Whoa, man! No, don't give my wife ideas, please.
Because what you have is only a copy. Now, of course, you had an original, that'd be another thing. But if you have a copy of a book, well, that could be useful.
When we drive by places that have those book donation bins, my wife keeps nudging me and saying, "Hey, this is a good idea."
Just drop them off right there, right?
That's right.
You don't even have to have a reason.
No, and you can do it in the dead of night, so no one knows.
So no one knows what books you actually read.
That's great.
They're not that exciting.
It's good spending time with you, Bob. I'm glad you're here.
All right, we got to run. So, Bob, thanks for joining us this morning. Always good to have you here with us.
Thank you very much. Hope to be with you next week.
All right, thanks to Steve Lima, who came in earlier today.
Yeah, that was interesting.
And we have another. We have another politician tomorrow, but he's not running for anything.
Oh, really?
He's not really a politician.
You mean he doesn't have a race?
Right, because he's appointed. His town manager from Bellingham, Dennis Frayne, is going to join us tomorrow on the Coffee and program. So, Dave, thanks for coming in.
Tell him to bring a blizzard for Denise on his way down.
Aren't they delicious?
Just what a treat that is.
All right, this is Joe Callan. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you this afternoon.
Broadcasting live and local daily from the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street. This is WOON Woonsocket Radio. And now, the news. U.S. Senator Jack Reed is set to defend his Rhode Island seat against Republican challenger Alan Waters in November, after neither candidate had a primary opponent on Tuesday. Reed has served as a Rhode Island senator since 1997. Before that, he was a rep. Waters had originally planned to run against Senator Ed Markey in Massachusetts, but decided to move back to Rhode Island and run against Reed, according to a report from the Providence Journal. The Projo also reported the Rhode Island Republican Party rescinded its endorsement of Waters in response to a prior arrest for an alleged domestic assault incident. Massachusetts could soon be removing Rhode Island from its blacklist coronavirus travel restriction list. Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker said yesterday the data will be reviewed as it is on a weekly basis. Rhode Island Public Health Director Dr. Nicole Alexander Scott said the state's cases per 100,000 metric has dropped below the limit set by Massachusetts and